Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you so much for joining. We are joined today, it's Tuesday, with Michelle Wolfe. How are you doing today, Michelle?
I'm great, Shane. Thanks. How are you?
Yep, I can see your glow's picking up just the moment.
I know. I said, watch this. It started when I first came on. I'm like, okay, look now. There's nothing, right?
Yeah.
And then as you're talking, like it started to build a little. I'm like, okay, look. I bet you there's people waiting right now.
Yep.
And then it's got and then it'll get brighter as we go. So
That's amazing.
It did it with Michelle too, but. Like, I don't think that this is me personally. I think it's the energy, our collective group energy, that is just getting highlighted for all of us to see. So I don't think it's anything special about me in particular. I think it's all of us, our group energy together participating.
That's cool. Yeah, you're glimmering a little bit. So
it'll get watched by the end of the show. See, it's picking up already.
As the people hop in, the glow gets stronger. So this is all of us glowing through Michelle here. That's pretty cool. So I had my first debut on Mr. MBB333. Did you see the Phoenix that he featured on there?
So excited. Yeah, because you sent me those pictures when you got them too, because they were just so cool, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, what's next, dragons? And it definitely there's no explanation for it, that kind of, because you can see it's not just that the bird was red or orange highlighted. There was which he didn't mention quite enough. There was a trail behind the bird that was red and highlighted.
Yeah, because I saw somebody left a comment that said it's just the golden eagle, and I'm like, what? And I looked up the golden eagle, and I looked at some in the sun, and I'm like, dude, it's not nearly as bright. I mean, you can tell that camera just looking at the terrain and everything. The colors all of them were sort of dull. It's not like the saturation on the camera was way up and then the bird was looking super bright because of it.
Well, that's it. The landscape was super high def clear.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it was clear, but not saturated with color. Yeah.
Exactly. And not oversaturated or bleeding with color anywhere else in the picture. And the color was trailing out behind it, and not just one shot, but really all of them. I mean, a couple of the screenshots were taken with dulled because of it was on pause, right? So you were seeing the play button and the picture was darkened, but two of the shots were completely clear and well lit. And that was amazing. Again, it's not just like regular light reflecting that normally happens.
And he noticed that they closed down the park. Like, he went to investigate it and they closed down a section of the Grand Teton Park. I don't know anything about it, but I had sought him out because I thought he might be able to get a hold of the actual footage or whatever. But so anybody, you can click on Mr. MBB333's link in the description box and look at it was a few days ago, but it had Firebird in the topic. And you can check that out if you missed the last time I presented them. Sorry, I didn't know we'd go in such a tangent on it. But you know how we are.
Yeah. Right? Tangents? I've never heard of it.
Squirrels, firebirds. It doesn't take much, right?
Squirrels, firebirds, and tangents. Oh, my.
So I did... I've been working on this video. You guys can check it out, of the top 10 Mandela effect. I wanted to start putting out some top 10 videos. My son's like, you need to do top 10 videos, because a lot of people just look at top 10 videos and, you might raise awareness that way. And I'm like, that's a good idea, because really we can break them into subtopics, like the Bible alone, just sort of pick out the 10 most shocking Bible changes, and then, product changes, movie changes, art changes. So That's sort of my side project going along with the live show. So it took about 3 days to do it, fitting it in around the live shows, but it's I think
it looks great. It looks really good, and it was really fun to watch. Yeah, you did a great job. So
Thank you.
yeah, and the Berenstain Bears was a big one for me. Berenstain, that was pretty altering, yes. So
Yeah, and I'm with Suso on that one. I never even heard of them until the effect, but my wife says she remembers the book, so it's not like because he was thinking just them appearing is a Mandela effect, but I just don't know that I would even notice them.
I read them to all three of my children and knew them from when I was younger. And because there's 8 years and 11 years difference between myself and my two younger sisters, they had the books. I remember their books, and then I read those same books too, as well, to my children. They had several of them, and I read to my kids every single night. So I'm telling you, yeah,
Right.
it changed, and that was why it was a big one for me.
And I know a lot of people, that's why I included it, because that one is you hear so many people, because I think because a lot of times, I know the big one for me was Rodin's Thinker statue, because I had it as a kid. So I got all of these memories. It's like back when your brain's all fresh and you're absorbing everything so well. And it's like, it's so ingrained in my memory. And I know that book was like that for a lot of people because they knew about it for so long and then read it to their kids. And or maybe just read it to their kids and had to explain how to say the name. Or there's people with Steen or Stein at the end of their name, and they're like, "Look, I know I shared this ending of the name." You know, so there's a lot.
The thing is it's for a child that is a difficult name to pronounce. So when you're reading to your children or you're teaching them to read, you're like, this is a tricky word. It's a tricky name.
Right.
So it's not like just 4 letters that was easy. So it was a difficult name for. I remember that myself being younger with my sisters having the books. So I think that's why it stuck even more, because it was like a tricky name that kids had to learn how to read.
Yeah.
It wasn't simple. So that's why I really remembered it as well too. But yeah.
The only other Steen or Stein is like Frankenstein or Steen, and then Einstein. So it's like, it's not out there that much, but it's something that's definitely discussed. I remember, with Frankenstein and Einstein, it being a big thing. Well, some people say Steen and Stein, and so yeah, it's a huge thing. I mean, so I totally see why for people they're like, I definitely remember it being Steen. Berenstain, it's the 100%. And that's trippy. When you have a 100% item, that is so trippy because, and then you look and it never existed. That's such a mind trip for people. So,
and you can't help but keep going back to it because your mind just can't get over it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and remembering something that is apparently not real. And, so it's I think we are, as we lose the illusion of linear time, the idea of remembering and memories and what is real and where it was real even, or is really blending together, both forwards and backwards.
That's a great segue into that whole idea, because we were talking a few weeks ago about this overwhelming feeling of, it's like deja vu or nostalgia that comes over you. And you just have these feelings from like when you were a kid, or it's just a really strong feeling. And it's just, I don't know, it's really strong. So it's like other people had chimed in that they'd had these little episodes, moments where they just got this overwhelming feeling of remembering something that should have seemed more distant in their memory. And I don't know if I talked about this with you or not, but I had a friend that had seizures, and he had one of his seizures, he lost the cloud of time on his memories. So he's remembering memories from being a child, but without that fog of time, because you don't really think about this, but when you have a memory, the further back it goes, the more cloudy it becomes, and you'll have specific things about it that you remember, but it's like the further back in time, and it's sort of like the brain's way of categorizing how long ago a memory was. Well, with one of his seizures he had that tore down, and memories he had as a kid, he was remembering it like yesterday. It was real emotional for him because he said, it's just weird to remember being in the car with my mom and dad as a boy. It wasn't really anything going on with it, but just that feeling I had as a little boy being in the back seat with my parents up front and seeming like it felt like yesterday that it happened, you know, that fog of memory thing had gone away. And that reminded me of the episode I had, because it was sort of like I remembered an seemingly insignificant moment in time when I was a child standing at our kitchen table. I remembered details of the kitchen table and stuff that I would have thought I forgot, and things on the table, and this little napkin holder that my dad had his mail in. He used it for mail instead of napkins. And I saw all of this, that things that you don't think you remember, but I saw it all in just like this brief moment of time. And it brought back this overwhelming sense of a nostalgic deja vu sort of feeling. But this gets into what one of the things you said your mom was speaking about.
Yeah, and I think it ties in with a few things, because you know we've talked about lately our memory being foggy, even for having difficulty even placing, did I do that this morning, yesterday, or a week ago? So, and that fogginess, like you said with your friend, you know, we used to be able to distinguish a timeline in our memories, like you said, sort of based on how foggy they are. But
Right.
now it's all kind of mushing together. So we're losing that concept even more of how to associate when something happened and trying to plug it back in a timeline. So I'm seeing what is disconcerting for people is the removal of this linear timeline. We don't know how to look at things anymore, and our perception is changing of how that timeline being sort of removed, how we are remembering, experiencing things now. So my mom brought up just before the show, and I thought this was a great thing to talk about, was feeling really disconcerted because, you know, she said, starting with the Mandela effect and it being disconcerting of having a clear memory that's real to you of something that you know happened, now no longer happening. But what is disturbing her now is feeling like she's remembering ahead.
Having
Sort of,
future memories.
it's the same, remembering the past, but it doesn't exist, or when does it exist,
Right.
right? Having deja vu in the moment. Did this happen already? Did I dream it? Did it happen before? What's happening now? And I know what she's talking about because I'm feeling it too, and I'm getting the flashes as well of ahead, like you're remembering something ahead of you, and it's so disconcerting because of this linear timeline. So when you perceive it as linear, you are perceiving things as behind you or in front of you. But when you take out the line, there is no in front and behind so much anymore. So it's the idea, I believe, on how you are experiencing, remembering something ahead as you perceive ahead of you, right? And it's the change in how we conceptualize and view and experience our reality
Yeah.
now, in essence. And I think that that's what's going on, because I do see more people talking, and I'm experiencing myself more continual that deja vu nostalgia feeling becoming more present within not just events of my like really, and I feel like it really is pulling in all of those memories in essence, you
Yeah.
know. But I think we're going to have to redefine the word memory,
That's a
because
good point.
memory is behind you. So recall, and through, experiencing, bringing up, recalling something of an experience, um, it's not quite remembering anymore. It's not quite memory anymore. So it really is going to require a new definition and a
Yeah.
new way of seeing it. So just understand that as we're pulling out of this construct, well, the way that we used to or perceive things to function, those things don't apply so much anymore, and are going to apply less and less. And
Yeah.
this is where all the block knowing that is getting downloaded in our sleep and everything, the dreams that people are having where they know they're getting all this information, but no matter how hard they try, they can't carry it out through to waking. And I believe that that information is all the downloaded requirements, the operating system, basically, for perception of our new reality. So uh, as we go more online into this new way of operating and understanding our experience, you're upgrading your abilities to perceive it. Those perceptions and abilities cannot be explained like we do right now.
Right.
They can't be translated over right now. That's why we can't bring that knowledge into translation into our 3D
Yeah.
reality right now
That's what
to
Jim Self was
understand.
saying. Yeah.
Yes, we can't bring it over because that information is all there, ready and set up for us to be able to immediately access.
We just don't have a reference right at this point. It's like,
Yeah, we're in that, but we're like
it's like a baby
unplugging, and
that's
it's like,
just,
whoa.
yeah, that's just sort of opening its eyes for the first time, and all it sees is light and moving colors
Yeah,
and stuff. It
yeah.
has no idea what a face is or anything yet. I mean, you can tell when a baby can focus on your face, and it's like, that's something, you know what I mean? And they start to
Mm-hmm.
realize that's another something that looked like that other something, and but they have no idea what anything is yet. It's just like they're just looking around in awe, and it's sort of
Yeah.
like that. Probably we just can't bring it back here. It just makes no sense to us now. But that
Yeah.
also, was it Carmela, I believe, said something about, will we not age once we sort of get out of time? And that's a good point, because we age because of I think they call them the telomeres in our body or something. The ends of them get shorter or something like that. I'm just going off of something I watched a long time ago. But that's a good point that, if we're not sort of progressing in linear time anymore, maybe that's how we're able to live a lot longer. Because one of the things I think
Yes.
about is if we're moving from 3D to 5D, and 4D is sort of where the time element falls away, then that's really something. We're really seeing it falling away. We're starting to see through the illusion of time, because time is an illusion. And Jim Self talked about that when he was on, saying that 3D is, you've got the past, you got the present, you got the future, and then you die, and that's all you got, and everything's really solid. And as you move in the fourth dimension, those things start to fall down and break away, and you start to be able to make more choices in the moment, because you're living actually in the moment. All there is now. And that's sort of what the Mandela effect led me back to. It was like, are they really changing the past? Because it's like the past, our perceptions of the past and the now is what the only thing we can really say honestly is changing, because we can't go back. And I can't go back to when I was a kid and look at that statue anymore. And we do have pictures and stuff, but it's still us looking at it right now. You know what I'm saying? It's a mind trip when you think about it, because you can't go back. So all we can do is look at everything in the present time. And it's looking like the future is becoming that way too. And this would also speak to the way I've been talking about, meeting people, and there's just something really familiar about them. It seems like I just met them, but it feels like I've known them. And I know we've talked about maybe you know them in dream time or when you go away, and that's possible. But it could be that just that illusion of time is breaking down enough that you know them from the future, you know, or our concept of the future right now. So interesting times.
Yeah, it is. And I think that you're right. The Mandela effect is a great example of us being able to view behind the curtain of essentially how things work ahead as well. Like, you know, when seeing those changes, well, how can paths and things change ahead of us with timelines? Well, it's giving us a bigger perception or understanding as we see those changes behind us, to be able to see where we were once blind was the future, right?
Yeah.
We could see behind, now and behind us, but we were blind to what's ahead. Well, the Mandela effect essentially is allowing us to start taking the blinders off to start to see sort of how by and another example, I think, you know, talking about the 4D reality is where the construct of time being removed, which
Yeah.
is essentially, I think, where we are now. I know there's a lot of discussion about going to 4D, going here, going there, going anywhere. Well, I'm going somewhere. Good enough for me. But
We're
I think for,
transitioning
yeah,
and
we're
really where
transitioning.
we're at. Yeah.
Yes. And but I do think if we look at the now, I do think that we are really experiencing that 4D, because the evidence of that time removal is also, it is showing with the deja vu. It's all the same, the deja vus and the lucidity in dreams. The lucidity and astral travel and awareness in dreams, or control in dreams, or how you're experiencing dreams as well, because dreams have been purported to be the 4D. You know, when you're in the 3D and you go into your dreams, well, you're essentially going around and working in a more 4D environment was the concept, and that were moving up to the 5D. But I think in that transition and going through that, that's why we are seeing the evidence as well in our dream state, that evidence of our experience and our reality being far broader than what is right here and behind, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming up on this planetary. Etherium BB 333 has already been talking about it. So it looks like all of the planets are on one side of the sun, or just about ready to be all on one side of the sun. So if you got the sun here, and usually the planets are scattered all about, they're all going to be like on one half
Mm-hmm.
of the sun. So no planets over there. And of course, you know, the gravity of each planet affects the other ones. And, you know, I feel there's people that's like, there's no gravity. There's no, we're just sticking with
Well, whatever. We'll just go.
the
We'll just,
major model right now.
yeah,
I
yeah,
felt
exactly.
that.
We'll just go with the
I
major.
felt that. I feel the
You do it.
comment already coming.
Yeah,
That's
we
amazing.
all have to just be drawn to what is intuitively drawing us in. You know,
Yeah.
so this one drew me in, and because what was causing me to want to dig deeper into this was the idea that I know, well, starting as of July 19th, the last planet Venus tucks in, and everything's over on one half of the pie,
Can I
right?
show an image for this?
Yes, great. That's great. Yeah. But the thing is, like everything else, things don't just happen in one day.
Right.
This is an alignment we will be experiencing for several weeks. So my question was, what are the peak times, the peak pull, as we know that each planet has its distance, its mass, its gravitational pull, and its astrological impact as well, to the other planets and where they're located and in correlation with each other. So, what in essence is okay, perfect. That way I can see it, Shane, because I couldn't see the picture.
Right.
There
I
it
was
is.
sitting there
Okay.
thinking I need to get it to where you can see it too. Okay.
That's great. Okay. So, um, yeah, essentially my question is, well, what are our peak times? Where is it within these next few weeks of all the planets being over on that one side? Are we going to experience the most push and pull?
Yeah.
The second question I had is as well the concept that's being brought up by several people now regarding this alignment being the time where we experience the solar flash. The idea being suggested from several areas, and what is intuitively drawing me as well, is that the incoming galactic pulse for activation for the solar flash will be coming in during this alignment to basically come in. You'll see in the picture here. So I did the red line just to cut things in half. So on the left side of the picture, that's our half a pie, everything coming in. The concept is that we've got coming in from the other side, the right side of your screen, coming in, we've got a galactic pulse that's going to hit the sun. Therefore, instigating our solar flash, which will allow this energy to be propelled and distributed the way intended to all the planets.
That
Right?
makes sense.
So there's two things going on here, really. There's the question of, in the last 120 years, there's been 6 alignments like this, 5 of which have had major volcanic eruptions. Okay, so we are seeing evidence of the earthquakes and eruptions picking up intensity. My question is,
now is we're in a solar minimum too, so that sort of drops the shields, right? And that wasn't the same for all those other 6, if I remember right.
It's layer upon layer. Like right. I'm only like I'm hitting one element of this layer. That's the thing. There are so many other layers. Like all of this is in this quantum, red pill that we've taken. Everything has to do with everything, and it all ties in. But yeah, it's when are we going to see a higher likelihood of these eruptions and disturbances based on the swing, the sloshing around because of the planets being like this? This is my question. So, and going into the dates, what I discovered a few things because I wanted to take a look at both of these paradigms. And with the first, just on the volcanic earthquake and location, I'm going to just start by pointing out a few things. So if we look at this picture again, and we go to our left half, what I want you to notice is everybody's been talking about, as of the 19th, 180 degrees, okay? But what is actually happening is it within 90 degrees of...
Oh, really?
Okay, and this of the inner system. Okay, so when you see our system on a large scale, did I send you the full shot of the system? Did I send you the larger one so we can see how far away? So this first one shows the inner planets. But when you look at the entire system as a whole, this is how big it is. So we see a very even distribution, really. To give you an idea, I messed up my line a little bit, but of the planets. But these are the outer planets. We're talking Uranus, Neptune, way out on the side. That's the only 2 planets that are in 90 degrees, the other half of our 180 right now. Everybody else, right? Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto are all in 90 degrees, not 180. So our inner circle are tighter with, because this is how you can't even see with this first picture. You can't even see our inner circle. You can't even see our planets on this.
So what you're saying is that, with the exception of the ones way out far away from Saturn, from the big ones inward to the ones we can't see because they're so small right here, we're going to be in a quarter of the pie, basically.
Yes.
Is this what you're saying?
Yes.
I got you. So we're going to be in the same quarter that Jupiter and Saturn are in right there.
That's right. And Pluto. Now, Pluto's way out there. But so this is what really caught my eye. Now, what I pulled up, as I was scrolling through these different weeks, and that app was really great because you can move the date you can
So
set
this
it
is
how
July
fast it moves.
22nd at 11:11
This is where I stopped it. This is where I stopped it. And this is what I love. Okay. So after going weeks and weeks, going backwards and forwards, watching the system, looking at it, trying to get my bearings, I came to a stop and a conclusion of where I felt was my
Sweet
peak
spot.
time, that I was my sweet spot.
Right.
I did not look at the date when I selected my sweet spot.
You're just looking at the position of them. Now, just so for the viewers that don't know, we're talking that Earth and Mars and everything are really right
really
next
in
to
there.
the sun,
That's
right?
right. So
We just
this is
can't
what
see
I want
it.
to give you a scope of, and why I'm eliminating, and not necessarily eliminating, but I'm letting you know for the distance and gravitational pull and such, and there's only 2 of them. Let's just leave that out of the equation then. Okay.
Right.
Because and then now we're down to a quarter of the pie.
Right.
Okay. So so they're still there on the 180, but so zoom back into the quarter shot that you first started with. And that, okay.
Oh, I see what you're
So,
saying now. So we got
yeah.
Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and this is why Metal Rabbit had emailed me about how big and bright Mars is in the sky at night. You can see it.
It's right behind
clearly,
us.
yeah, it's right. This is actually one of the closest points it's been in like 15 years or 17 years or something. So.
And that's the funny thing is, so when watching and when picking my line, like my point, and hitting stop, the Mars is at a direct line. And this is what, there's some interesting things going on within this 90 degrees. So when stopping at this point, one of the
This one's
reasons
22 minutes later.
yeah, I know I messed with the time a little bit. I was like, when I
No,
finally did
that's
it, I'm
fine.
like, I'm gonna put in the
I just know that other
time.
people that that do videos are like, look, he's in the Illuminati. We got the 33 code, and we got the. You ever watch those
Codes
videos?
are everywhere. Codes are
Yeah.
because of the Illuminati. Truth is in numbers, not in words.
Right.
Yeah. So this is where it gets really interesting, Shane. So we see, I've shown you that basically we've got a direct line going Sun, Earth, Mars.
Yeah.
We've also got another direct line going Sun, Venus, Jupiter.
Yeah.
Now, because I was able to do this on my iPad and lay it out flat and actually put the compass on I measure out my angles. This is actually what I did, right? And measure out the angles. I took the screenshot flat of where I wanted it, not this one necessarily, but looking straight down, was able to put the compass right on it and take a look at my angles within what's going on here. So this is where it gets really cool. So what we have is a 45-degree angle, right? With your point of the sun angling out to Saturn and Jupiter is about 45 degrees. Mercury and Earth, about 45 degrees. And then I've got those 2 decks, right? Basically direct line going sun, right? Jupiter, Sun, Earth, Mars. And then you've got Pluto way out in the back there. But the relationship with the planets is not just about where they are to the sun. It is about where they are to each other. Whether you're doing a birth chart, astrology, it's all about locations, and if something's in a trine, or if it's in an angle or in a direct, these things are all considerations that we look at astrologically, right? To give us more definition and distinction as well. So finding distinct angles and direct connections to these planets within such a small space like that too, it's pretty fascinating, and it's pretty special, I think.
This is just 5 days away. This is amazing.
Yes. If you will remember my second hypnosis session.
Yeah.
Do you remember my second hypnosis session? I didn't like to put too much emphasis on it at all, but the date in my hypnosis session was July 22nd.
Oh, wow.
For this solar flash. So this is where my alarm bells are going, right? So I have one last little picture, I think, where it gives you an idea of the
Let me
hopefully I
find.
send it. That shows where I'm seeing the energy pulsing out.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Well, Zoe says hello.
Oh, well, okay. So I do have the sky. There was only those two, and then the sky and the compass. There was four.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? That's good enough. That's fine. All good. We covered it. But that tells you enough of what my conclusions were and sort of what I found and what I found interesting. If you want to take a look at it yourself, the app that I used was Solar. Get down, Zoe. Solar System Scope. It's
Yeah, and
called
it's
Solar
really
System
cool. There's
Scope.
actually a desktop version of that that's you can just it's free. You just go to solarsystemscope.com.
Right. Yeah. And it's really easy to use, and you can change the time for how fast the planets are rotating. It gives you all the information you need, and you can really just play with it. You can plug in a date that you want to take a look at it, and it'll just boom take you there, or you can watch it run through dates at the speed that you want, and you can have a look at it yourself and see what you see, or see what rings true to you, because it's definitely very interesting. The other peak times, I did notice some interesting alignments. August 8th, which is the Lionsgate portal.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some interesting, it looked interesting, very interesting for that as well. And also looking to like August 22nd and 23rd, also felt like a high, like a level way to sort of pick up energy. It just felt like an evenly distributed point for hitting us with that energy, a peak point more.
This is very interesting. Okay, so let's see. You took some images, I see here. Struggling.
That's okay. We're just lucky that I didn't send you my original notes on this. Well,
Should I pull
I
those up?
did.
They were beautiful.
No.
I couldn't make much sense of them, but I liked them. They were very artsy.
That was when I was excited. I was like, ah!
Use the rainbow pen and everything. I'm like, this is
Oh,
awesome looking. I don't know
new
what she's trying to
tools.
get at here, but this is
I don't know, but
awesome.
well, you'll find out in color.
Okay, so the image that we're looking at here, is my computer froze? Let me see if I'm even coming out to the stream anymore. Yeah, looks like I'm broadcasting, but for some reason, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see if it.
Yeah, see if you can. Well, let me know. Just tell me if you're able to get
I'll pull the image
photo
up.
of the sky. Yeah, because so a lot of people are talking about the colors in the sky, and the really pink color that's being seen in a southeasterly direction. And also, well, just what, they're just seeing colors in the sky and at night and stuff. So I have been spending more time taking note of the night sky as well, just going and sitting outside for a little while, relaxing and seeing where I'm seeing the light, and noting the bright colors that are not where they should be. So I sent you is a beautiful color, but didn't really belong where it was.
Yeah, what time of the day is this?
That was it on the compass? Did it
Oh,
tell you the
maybe
time on the
so.
compass?
Yeah, let me pull the compass back up here. Okay, finally it's done doing its glitching thing. Okay, so the compass says it is. Oh, 9:01 p.m. So this is last night?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
Zoe. Yeah. So yeah, like just sunset. But so the reason I did the compass is because I wanted to know that so it was sunset time, the sun just going down, but in the completely opposite direction. So because the sun is going down like north, like west north.
Right.
More north than west these
Right.
days. But
We're actually
the
looking
light.
south, east.
Yeah. Did you get it up? Because to see how bright that light is, and how bright it is reflecting off the clouds and everything as well.
Yeah.
Completely facing southeast. The
This is
time
one
being
of the reasons
9:01.
why I have a problem with one of the major theories going around, conspiracy theories going around, is that, you know, when the sun goes down for me, I can see it hitting the clouds the opposite direction of the sun. So it means that the
Yes.
sun's going past my location to shine on clouds above. And I see this all the time. This is one of the things that, you know, I observe on a daily basis pretty much. But yeah, you can definitely see the really bright pinks and stuff. And it's
That's what
beautiful.
it keeps getting mentioned. So I just wanted to put it out there, share the picture because it was so bright, and it's the pink color. It's this pink hazy color, and some other people are making note of it, and it seems to be getting brighter. So I thought I'd take a shot, show you which direction it comes from. But the other thing that I'm noticing is actually at nighttime. I'm not able to take a picture, but I've been going out the last few nights and sitting out for about 45 minutes, and just observing. And the southeast as well has a continual, very luminescent blue green glow, more green now. And I'm not suggesting what it is, but I'm hearing about a blue and green and energy and this that, and it's coming up. So I just wanted to put it out there, see if anybody else notices
Yeah.
anything like that, and see if anybody is picking up the affirmations from elsewhere too, hearing it pop up. So
Sorry, they're talking about blue moons and stuff. I thought they were chiming in. It's always funny when
the
I,
moon too
yeah.
is the last 2 nights has been really, really something.
Oh, really? Is it coming back up again? I've been noticing. Well, you must be
Yeah.
out. It's like early morning now, isn't it? Or is it back in?
Well, the last 2 nights, it was in the west, uh, just after sunset,
Yeah.
and low in the sky, probably about like going from 45 degrees from the horizon, right, and then lowering down that way, and just this sliver that's absolutely enormous because I can see it from this window right here. This
Yeah.
huge, enormous, just sliver that's orange and red, and it almost looks like it's got an overlay on it
Yeah.
of red or blue energy, like a line around it, which is weird too. So
Pretty
I'm
trippy.
yeah, I'm seeing more energy in the sky. I've been hearing more people mention it, talk about it, and being able to, it was mentioned a few weeks ago about the glitter or sparkles. At the time, it was still spring with all the dandelions going through. So, but I am experiencing, and it's not dandelion. I am experiencing sparkles dancing around, and lines of energy moving, and and perception of rainbow lines as well. I keep catching like, is that, and it's like if I look a certain way, I can see like a line of rainbow going through as well too. So I'd be noticing that as well.
Yeah, I think Linnea on her channel had mentioned her ex-boyfriend was talking about seeing rainbows and thought something was wrong with his eyes or something like that on one of her videos just recently. So there's been talk about this sort of thing going on, and like I've been noticing now, it's been like a couple of years that I'd be walking into a store and I was like, where did I just see rainbows? You know how like when you're you'll see something, but you won't know exactly where you saw it. And I've been getting that iridescence thing for a couple of years, even before, you know, any of this, knowing anything was happening. I was like, and that's what sort of prompted me to start paying attention to the clouds. And then I noticed the clouds were doing that. Now, I just thought, you know, me being the conspiracy person I am, I thought the chemtrails are falling down. It's like the chemicals in it. And I still don't know for sure, but I think there's more to it than that going on. And someone's mentioning the UVCs reaching the Earth where they haven't. And Mr. MBB 333 talks about this all the time, but I don't hear it anywhere else. You know, they were 0 a year ago, and now they're like up in the 50s and stuff.
Yeah.
You know? And I can go into my garage like in the morning before it even gets hot, and the metal of my garage door feels so freaking hot. It's like I can feel the heat radiating off of it. And that's just, you know, abnormal.
It's melting the paint off of street signs.
I saw that. And melting those little hood things over the lights. They're just melting over.
Weird things. Yeah. So you have to be you do have to be careful. But then, you know what? I don't necessarily know that the typical store-bought sunscreens are any good either. So I think it's just awareness, and hey, I'd rather focus my energy on keeping myself, you know, high vibing, and that you become a self-sustaining system that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's a better way to look at it. But
use an umbrella. I think an umbrella is a good thing to have outside. If you know you're gonna have to be in direct sunlight, just keep that shade. Be
aware. Yeah. And I'm wondering if we are seeing incoming energy colors, not just the chemtrails, like with the colors that we see in the clouds, or what we maybe even be perceiving as clouds, you know. And I think that's definitely at night. You remember how back in the spring they were, and Mr. MBB was talking about too, but he just seemed to just stop talking about it, was how the sky would seem to change in shade of brightness or black.
Yeah, through that instrument, they could see that like a wave of light went across the earth, and it would show up on the instruments.
Yeah.
And it would take like, I don't know, 15 minutes to pass across or something. So it would, and it was so gradual. I think what we were looking at was time lapse. So it was easier to see it, you know, but I think if you're outside, the sky would get bright so slowly you wouldn't notice, you know. So
yeah,
it wasn't surprised.
It's not a click. Yeah. But after sitting out the last couple nights for a decent amount of time to adjust, I believe that it's still going on. I definitely felt like the sky would get brighter. It was like the full moon was going to rise. You know, that preemptive dawn of a full moon rising.
Yeah.
That kind of glow. But there's no moon. I just saw the moon go down 2 hours ago over this way. So that's not it. And it's not a full moon right now. So what is that? And it did seem to pick up in vibrancy at times as well too, where it felt like the sky, you know, directly above me in that, which should be very dark, it felt like it was illuminated. It really did. And I definitely, and especially with being able to see the energy more, it's like I'm seeing more, was really picking up on this green energy.
Yeah, that reminds me of footage that he got from somebody that was outside of Atlanta. I want to say a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, where it was like the middle of the night. He was pointing out the fact that it was the darkest hour of the night. So, and then they were getting these like strange colors in the sky. Now, I did, not recently, but it's been a few months where I would get like flashing in the sky, but there was no clouds at all. So it was like, it seemed like lightning, but nothing around. So how is there lightning with no clouds, you know? And it's like,
there is one theory that with the earthquake disruptions, that it has been recorded before, with deep fissures opening, there can be releases of gases that may show as colors. So I'm not saying that's the explanation, but that is a possibility because I've seen that it was recorded with major one of the last big earthquakes, early 1900s or 1800s, I think it was, where it was recorded these flashing lights in the sky, and that was the determined explanation for it.
Now, one other thing that I only hear on Mr. MBB 333 is the fact that we're getting a dust storm from the Sahara here. And I've noticed it. I've noticed that the sky be more of a sandy color, like a yellowish color in the sky. Here, it's been storming the last few days, so it's been too cloudy to notice it. But I could definitely see when you get the sun at the right angle, you can tell that you've got the same way it shows up on the maps that he shows, the instruments, where it looks sort of brownish. The sky had that sort of tannish haze to it, you know?
Yes.
So, and I noticed they're coming up the Gulf, they're going through Texas and well beyond where I am in Oklahoma. So I know it's reaching, and then part of it's going around. So we're having like a global dust storm, and I don't watch regular news, but it just seems like, you know,
and do you know what's going on Mars right now?
Yeah, a global dust storm. Yeah.
A planet-wide dust storm.
Yeah, the rovers had to shut down.
Well, think about it, right? So right there is something occurring within our solar system that is having an enormous impact on the planets. And that's evident. You know, they've never seen the entire planet of Mars covered in a dust storm.
Isn't that strange?
And it's, you know, well, it's not, this isn't the first time that Mars is being so close to us. Like, it does revolve around us. It does come this close, right?
Right.
But there's more to it. There's more to it than that. There's an influence on all the planets with this. So, and I don't think that it's just this alignment. I mean, if it was just the alignment, then they could have recorded dust storms previously in the other 6 times over the last 120 years. I mean, well, maybe not the 120, but there certainly has been events of the alignment which would have recorded global dust storm on Mars.
Right.
We've had the capabilities to see that.
But now here, with the one we're having here, it's not affecting us at ground level, and I think that's probably the reason it's able to go across the oceans. It's so high in the altitude. I don't know how it got kicked up so high and traveling around on jet streams around the planet. But, you know, it's not like you go out and you feel like you're in a dust storm. It's like you can just observe the color difference in the sky and things like that. It's like it's super high altitude. So what's making everything so lightweight, you know? Is that part of this whole planetary
getting
shift?
Lighter? Everything's feeling lighter, bouncier? Yeah. Woo! Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot.
I showed a video not long ago where it showed how these people were playing with this rock, and the rock was just floating about 1 foot off the ground. They could pick it up, put it in their hand, roll it around. It seemed normal, but when they try to set it back on the ground again, it would like just go like this and just hover, like it was a hovercraft. Did you see that video? Were you watching?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So no, like, but I sent you the link. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's like
like how do you explain that?
And if all of the sand started
wait till we start doing that.
Right. We're hovering around. That would be cool.
Oh, you think me crazy. You call me crazy when I'm flying around going, ha ha.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, definitely hearing a lot of people experiencing a feeling of weightlessness, buoyancy. You know, what it reminded me of, what I got visually, was like what it would be like to be suddenly in a lower gravity environment.
Yeah.
So I feel there's something to do with that, and it could be the transition that we are taking. You know, if this is a philosophy you want to follow, or a theory you want to follow, of going to a new planet, possibly. Yeah. Maybe, you know, with a lower gravitational. I think it is the inflation of what I'm getting is the inflation of our light bodies. And that as we've been getting what I got visually was like, you know, as we got activated and given the foundations for our light body now, and to transition into our light body, I got this visualization of this, like, you know, white balloon sort of that's being like a blow up, plastic blow up that's being all pressed down, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and with all the pressure that we're getting, it's like getting that blown up, that balloon blown up. And as it's getting filled with this new energy, and filling up and inflating, we're experiencing this buoyancy. So that's what I got visually with that, and intuitively, of experiencing the inflation and activation and transition into our light bodies, and that experience and what that will feel like. So
that's awesome. Have you had anything as far as dreams? Anything strange with that or anything?
Yeah, but what time are we at? That was a lot of info today.
Yeah, 55 minutes.
50.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because that would I could get into.
I just meant in general.
We'd end up going for another half an hour.
I just meant in general. We can save it for next week if you. Just like, have they been amping up?
You know what? I can leave you with a quick note, just sort of somewhat quick, that I've made, and it is about a dream that I did have, concerning upcoming events. So the experience, which was lucid, was having all these people come out. I'm not sure if I saw the movie with them or coming out of a movie that was all about, you know, this stuff and what's going on and what they do, you know, right. And in that sort of trick of making things that could be good into something evil. So your instant response is fear. So this is the idea behind it, is that all these people coming out from a recent movie that set ideas in them that would make them panic. So as things started to happen, it was nighttime, and there was two things that happened at once. And those coming into visual started coming down, but at the same time, there was instability, earthquakes going on. What happened then? So everybody's panicking, and the assumption is made that the earthquakes are because of the UFOs. So everybody runs and hides. But what happens is they're running to the problem and away from the help. Because what they do is they go into a large build. Everybody's going into buildings and underground and stuff. And so I go into one building. Again, I'm still lucid. The stream was interesting because I continually checked my own lucidity through the dream, which is a new experience for me, to be like, you know, you check her once or whatever, but this is like, okay, yeah, I'm here, I'm lucid, this very present. And so enter a building, it's just packed of people, this lineup of people waiting for an elevator, right? But the elevator's it's not working, it's not going to work, like everything's not working, the power's off. Right. And they're like sheep lined up, just, you know, waiting their turn for somebody to just turn on the elevator and they can go do whatever, right? So I let all these people know, you know, listen guys, no, there's no elevator, it's not getting turned on, power's not coming back on. So you're wasting your time. So some people did leave the line, but what they end up doing was going into like laundry rooms, like utility rooms and stuff, and just going in there and locking themselves in and shutting the door and locking them. And I can look through, and I got this feeling that, like, last person in, the door shut, like that was the last anybody sees them. Like they sealed their own fate.
Out of fear. That's one of the things that's interesting, is that a lot of times our fear will force us to do things that are actually worse for ourselves, you know. But
it was a real manipulation that was taking place. And it was shown to me in a very immediate context, in that the information, because they know this stuff's going to happen, so then they put out these scenarios so people will instinctively see the experience as this scenario, and will behave the way that they want them to, right? Instead of being open to perceiving intuitively what's actually really going on.
So they might put out something like some malevolent aliens might be visiting or attacking us. Then all these earthquakes start breaking out, and people are like, I'd rather deal with the earthquakes than the monster aliens coming. So, but they're really coming to try to rescue the people. So they run the opposite way. They run towards the danger instead.
They've been waiting to the moment where they need to come in and do that, and then everybody starts running away, right? So
it's going to be on TV, probably. Where none of us are even watching.
It's really weird. I turned on Netflix last night, and I don't even usually do that anymore. And there was a new release called, I think it was "This is the End," or "This is the End," or
oh my god,
"The End of the World." Honestly, it was ridiculous. They had all the stuff. They had the earth, the birds, this, that, and they still didn't give you an answer at the end of it, really, to what was going on. They just showed the worst kind of behavior from everybody. Like expect everybody to
almost like act like
for
this
themselves, right? And no happy ending, or no even real ending or answer to it at all. But it was integrating everything that we're seeing going on. So I'm like, oh, and I mean, in the title, and it's just, and it was sad, and it wasn't even exciting. It was just, people behaving badly and assuming the worst when you don't even really know what's going on. And that was the gist of it. And so when I saw that too last night, and I'm just like, oh, and everything in it, the number synchronicities and everything, I'm like, okay, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. I get it. So Zoe gets it too.
So the bottom line is, don't believe the fear.
Don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I think if you've been receiving these messages and receiving this information intuitively in whatever manner that it is you are doing so, we do know not to fear, and we have been prepared, and we are prepared for it.
Right.
But most people aren't. That's just the way it is.
That was sort of the reason for moving beyond using like electronics. Like I think like the whole Sam thing's really cool or whatever, but we need to get to where like the Celestine prophecies. I don't know if you remember in the book where he came to this road and one of them was more glowy. He like intuitively knew which way to go. So we don't want to depend on technology. We want to sort of move beyond that. But I think it's kind of like training wheels to start practicing. But ultimately, when something like that happens, if something breaks out that no one's discussed, it's something new, I say go within and see what you feel. Don't trust what people around you that are in a panic are saying, because a lot of times when things happen, it's, their fight or flight kicks in, and you're going to get that from people. They're either going to say, here, let's grab our rifles, or let's go hide. You know what I mean? But intuitively,
or they're just I'm sorry, Shane. They're just an illusion in a game to trigger you.
Right. That's a good point.
That's another concept. It's another concept.
Yeah, the whole NPC thing.
That they're just even illusion. That's just that's just a trigger. Take the challenge or no.
Right.
Right. Because it's all still in here, and that's what we have to remember. And I think that's still part of the message is we have been prepared to not fear. And have a visual of what to expect and all this, but we still may get distracted or sidetracked by the behavior of everybody running around. So, just that's part of the preparation too. I think is just be prepared that that's just part of it, and could be a complete illusion as well. So,
And I've
You
seen
just have to go
information.
within.
I've seen information already going around saying that, you know, expect this alien invasion to come, and they need your permission to go on, but they just want to put you back into the harvesting program again, and they need your permission to do that. And there's so much. They've tried to cover every angle of this whole thing. You know what I mean? And a lot of it's based on just fear of death and just different fears. It's all, that's how I know when it's like based on fear. I'm like, look, I don't care if I die. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I know there's more to life than this. So am I going to not do something because I'm afraid I'm going to die? You know, or am I going to just trust what I feel is right at that moment? So you do what you do. And like you say, do what you do, boo.
You do you. You do you, boo.
Right.
Yeah, and that's it. And you know what? I would much rather be wrong about something, you know, but still be using my own information, but be using what's inside of me, because that's all I have at the end of the day. And when I wake up in the morning, it's just all right here. That's all what you're left with, and all that you have when you die.
Yeah.
So so I'm gonna go with that now. And never not mind words, you know, that are.
But check this out. To the asleep people, imagine this for a moment, right? We start developing, we're evolving, we're waking up, our telepathy's coming online. You've got an asleep person next to you, and you start telling them, like, no, they're talking to me telepathically. They're saying it's okay. They're here to help, right? They're going to just think you're mind controlled. So there's always going to be the flip side of the coin. You know,
you have to release a need to even be believed, or be acknowledged as right, or have you have to even release having it acknowledged, even, you know, because it will get shut down. But typically that's true with so many things through history that are that come from within, you know, that the revelations, the real revelations that have changed history, have come from within, by people who were told they were crazy. So we have to release everything right now. We have to release, you know, our concepts of time. We have to release our need to be right. We have to release our fear of judgment, or of needing to judge. It's all got to go.
That's old baggage,
our belief in
baggage.
Our belief in money, or even any labels now, you know, even titles and labels, I realized are still definitions that separate.
Definitely. That's why I got the name. The channel was this. I realized that when you say you're something, you automatically exclude yourself from everyone who's not that same label.
You put it in a box right there. Boom. Right. So I even still see it, you know, and when people, am I this? Am I that? Am I this? I am that I am.
Right.
Right? So release the need to have a defined label or title for yourself and for others. That's my new one this week, because all it does is separate through definition.
Yeah. I'm in total agreement with that one. That's why that's why we welcome everyone here, you know, just as long as you're respectful to everyone else, believe what you want, and we're just truth seekers figuring this all out together, really.
Yeah, where we go one, we go all.
Amen to that, sister.
Amen. Amen.
All right, I guess we can wrap it up for this week, and we will see you next week, hopefully.
Of course.
Right.
Oh, well, I don't know. 5 more days? What is it, Tuesday? I tell you, I don't know. I'm really thinking about this one.
Right.
I might put my hat on this one. Yeah, we'll see. But because I can feel it. Ooh, boy.
Oh, yeah. I've been zinging too.
Crazy. Yeah. Crazy. So crazy. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see you next week. We'll have a lot to discuss.
Maybe we'll
Or
be using some new technologies or something. Who knows, right? Who knows what the future
maybe.
holds?
Who knows?
Maybe
Who
it will seem
knows?
like the past already.
Yep. The future past is all. It's all been done. I am that. I am.
Yes. Lots of love and light to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me today, Michelle, and have a good
Love
one,
you, brother.
everyone. Love you
Love you.
too.
Love you. Peace.
Peace.